Things reportedly spiraled fast when emotions boiled over and Fivio decided to cross a line that can't be uncrossed. What began as tension quickly turned explosive when he publicly claimed that Lana had gone through 3 abortions during her alleged relationship with 21 Savage, and he didn't just make the accusation, he insisted he had proof to support it. What was once a loud but typical rap dispute suddenly morphed into something deeply personal, dragging Latto straight into the blast radius. Instead of keeping it lyrical, Fivio aimed directly at real lives. He accused 21 Savage of exerting control over Latto's body, alleging that deeply personal choices were made under pressure rather than consent. That claim alone ignited outrage. Latto was furious, fans were divided, and social media went into full detective mode, revisiting old clips, past rumors, and moments that suddenly didn't seem so innocent anymore. People began asking whether those pregnancy whispers from months back were ever just gossip. And if Fivio's claims hold any truth, this situation goes far beyond rap drama. We're talking reputations at risk, relationships unraveling, and a darkness no one saw coming. Honestly, Latto would have been better off distancing herself early, because it's clear Fivio had been sitting on this information, waiting for the right moment to unload it. Still, it's important to note that she didn't randomly insert herself into the mess, Fivio pulled her in. Which makes it feel less like an impulsive outburst and more like a calculated move, as if he'd been searching for an opening to air her out all along. What makes the entire situation even stranger is that Latto wasn't part of the original conflict at all. The chaos began with a tense back and forth between Fivio and 21 Savage. And given Latto's connection to 21, she became collateral damage. The initial spark? Fivio took issue with 21 Savage's involvement in the F the Streets campaign, a movement that's also been supported by artists like Young Thug and Offset over the past few weeks. Fivio wasn't having it. He accused 21 of abandoning the very streets that helped elevate him, arguing that the streets are the backbone of many artists' success. According to Fivio, he would never turn his back on the people and environments that pushed him forward. In his view, the streets aren't something to discard, they're what keep him grounded, motivated, and mentally sharp. And from there, everything unraveled. And here's where Fivio really planted his feet. He made it clear he wasn't giving anyone a free pass, not one so-called street supporter, not one rapper, not anybody waving the F the Streets banner. In his eyes, once you cross that line, you're done. Period. No exceptions. Now, while some people clowned his wording and brushed it off as emotional rambling, a lot of fans actually felt like he was saying something that made sense. His argument wasn't about glorifying chaos, it was about separating destruction from identity. He said he could understand condemning jail culture, reckless behavior, pointless violence, or crashing out just to impress people who don't really want to see you win anyway. He even agreed with rejecting violence altogether. But to him, the streets themselves are something different. There's a bond there, a kind of authenticity and brotherhood you don't find anywhere else. Coming from New York, he admitted the streets can be ruthless, but he also said there are a few solid men he met along the way who left a permanent mark on his life. After that, 21 Savage stayed silent. No response. No clapback. That silence didn't last long before Fivio picked things back up again. A few days later, he sat down with DJ Academics for an interview and doubled down, openly questioning 21's street credibility. He didn't mince words. Then, as if that wasn't enough, he took to social media and made it clear he wasn't interested in going back and forth with someone who disrespected the streets, ending his rant with insults that left no room for reconciliation. That's when 21 finally responded, indirectly. He didn't name Fivio, didn't tag him, didn't even acknowledge him outright. Instead, he threw up a vague post suggesting that rappers who put hands on women love acting tough. The message was subtle, but Fivio caught it immediately. And instead of keeping it between the two of them, he escalated. That's when Latto got pulled into it. Not 21's actual wife, Kiana Joseph, but Latto. Fivio tried to hit 21 where it would sting by reposting an old clip of Latto rapping lyrics that hinted she'd let him get close. The internet clocked it instantly. The clip aged terribly, and even though Fivio never outright said anything, the implication was loud. People started speculating that he and Latto may have had history and that he was intentionally rubbing it in 21's face. Latto shut it down fast. She checked him publicly, explaining that the moment was nothing more than a clout play. From years ago. According to her, it was strictly about going viral, nothing more, nothing real. She even flexed the fact that the freestyle still gets talked about years later, brushing off the insinuation entirely. But Fivio wasn't finished. He followed up with yet another throwback, this time referencing a moment where he allegedly stood Latto up and she didn't take it well. That's when Latto fired back harder, taking shots at his finances and basically broke-shaming him. And that was the match that lit the fire. Once money got brought into it, Fivio completely lost restraint. He went from throwing shade to detonating a bomb, accusing 21 Savage of forcing Latto to terminate not one, not two, but three pregnancies. According to Fivio, Latto had wanted to start a family with 21 for years, but he refused. The reason, Fivio claimed, was that 21 was already married with 2 children and didn't want any outside kids complicating his life. So, allegedly, Latto had no choice but to comply with his wishes. But the part that truly shook people was what Fivio claimed next. He alleged that Latto had ended yet another pregnancy just a few months ago, again, because 21 didn't want her to keep it. And once that allegation hit the timeline, everything started to feel off in hindsight. Fans began replaying the past few months and noticing how certain moments suddenly made uncomfortable sense. Latto's behavior, her sudden openness, the oddly timed reveals, it all started to look less like randomness and more like someone trying to get ahead of a story before it exploded. Back then, people dismissed those moments as PR moves or clout grabs. Now, they're being reevaluated through a completely different lens. Take the moment when Latto finally confirmed she and 21 were together. Not only did she confirm it, she went further and publicly referred to him as her husband. That alone sent shockwaves online. This was a relationship that had been whispered about for years, carefully hidden, denied, and dodged at every turn. So for her to suddenly speak so boldly, so publicly, felt abrupt. Almost unnatural. Fans couldn't help but ask, why now? Then came the TMZ footage. Almost immediately, people accused the situation of being staged, suggesting Latto may have tipped TMZ off herself to control the narrative and break the news on her own terms. At the time, it sounded messy but believable. Celebrities do that all the time. Still, others weren't convinced. If she and 21 had gone to such extreme lengths to keep their relationship secret, why would she suddenly orchestrate a public reveal? What changed so urgently that secrecy was no longer an option? That question became a lot more interesting when pregnancy rumors surfaced just days later. Suddenly, the theory didn't sound so crazy. If Latto really was pregnant at the time, publicly claiming 21, and calling him her husband, would make a lot of sense. That word carries weight. It creates legitimacy. It locks a narrative in place. Not just for fans, but for him. Once the public sees you as a unit, walking away becomes far more complicated. Responsibility becomes harder to dodge. And if Fivio's allegations are even partially true, then what people once dismissed as clout chasing might actually have been a last-ditch attempt to take control of a story that was already spiraling out of reach. As the pieces started lining up, a new theory began circulating, one that suggested Latto may have been trying to back 21 Savage into a corner, hoping public pressure would give her the leverage to keep the baby. When you step back and look at the timing through that lens, it feels almost too precise to be coincidence. The speculation didn't just materialize out of thin air either. It really gained traction during Latto's performance in Japan, where fans immediately noticed a visible change in her midsection. Clips and photos from the show spread fast, and comment sections turned into battlegrounds. Some fans were convinced they were seeing a pregnancy, pointing to her wardrobe, her posture, even the way she moved on stage. Others pushed back, saying it could have been bloating, weight fluctuation, or just an unflattering angle caught at the wrong moment. And honestly, that argument isn't unreasonable. Women's bodies, especially women in the public eye, are dissected relentlessly. A single bad angle can snowball into weeks of speculation. Bloating happens. Hormones happen. Most of the time, it's harmless and shouldn't even be a conversation. But this situation didn't exist in isolation. It came on the heels of Latto publicly claiming 21, calling him her husband, and breaking years of deliberate silence around their relationship. That context made it harder for people to shrug it off as nothing. Soon, fans were digging through old footage, lining up past appearances with newer ones, analyzing changes like investigators reconstructing a timeline. Some noticed that Latto's energy during that period felt different, less playful online, more measured, while still being very intentional about what she shared publicly. When celebrities start shifting their behavior like that, the internet clocks it instantly. Then Fivio's allegations entered the picture, and suddenly those old rumors carried a different weight. If his claims are true, that Latto allegedly ended another pregnancy because 21 didn't want her to continue it, then what people saw in Japan may not have been bloating at all. It could have been the physical and emotional aftermath of something deeply personal she was navigating behind the scenes. That idea unsettled a lot of people, because it suggests someone caught between their own hopes and someone else's authority. It also reframes why Latto might have chosen to finally go public. If she'd already experienced pressure before, silence may no longer have felt like protection. Making the relationship public, labeling him her husband, could have been an attempt to shift the balance, to force accountability through visibility. Public narratives have power, especially when both parties are famous. Sometimes, exposure is the only leverage someone feels they have left. But if Fivio's version of events is accurate, that strategy didn't work. And that's where the story starts to feel especially heavy. From the outside, people see wealth, fame, access, and assume those things insulate you from pain. In reality, power imbalances don't disappear just because there's money involved. Emotional investment isn't always equal, and that gap can turn devastating in private moments. Another detail people can't stop circling back to is how abruptly the pregnancy rumors vanished. Usually, speculation like that either gets shut down immediately or escalates until there's some form of clarity. In Latto's case, it simply went quiet. No confirmation. No denial. Just nothing. And now some fans are wondering whether that silence existed because there was nothing left to address. It's a grim conclusion, but one that keeps resurfacing in discussions. Looking back, many fans feel Latto has been operating from a place of emotional vulnerability for a long time. Despite her confident, bossed-up image, her attachment to 21 has always appeared deeper than his, at least publicly. He's consistently more reserved, more distant, while she's been the one dropping hints, making references, and allegedly trying to solidify something that may not have been equally grounded on both sides. If Fivio is to be believed, this situation wasn't just about pregnancy, it was about control. About who holds the power when deeply personal decisions are on the table. The idea that someone could repeatedly pressure their partner into ending pregnancies because it conflicts with their lifestyle or image is disturbing, and that's why these allegations hit such a nerve. Of course, none of this has been confirmed. These remain accusations, not established facts. Until someone directly involved speaks on it, everything exists in that uncomfortable gray area between rumor and reality. Still, the pattern people are pointing to, the sudden relationship reveal, the husband's comment, the pregnancy rumors, the Japan show, and now Fivio's claims, feels too interconnected for many to ignore. Beyond the individuals involved, this situation has sparked a much broader conversation. About how women in the industry often carry emotional and physical burdens quietly. About how they're expected to compromise pieces of themselves to maintain relationships, careers, or carefully curated images. And about how power imbalances can exist even at the highest levels of success. That's why this story has captured so much attention. It's not just celebrity drama. It's about control, secrecy, public pressure, and the emotional cost of loving someone who may not be willing, or able, to meet you halfway. And as people revisit moments from months ago, more are realizing that very little happens in isolation. Sometimes the signs are there all along, hiding in plain sight, long before anyone is ready to acknowledge them out loud. Now, let's talk about the bloating conversation, because context matters. Anyone who's experienced that time of the month knows how real it is. The discomfort, the puffiness, the way your body suddenly feels unfamiliar. Add tight stage outfits, harsh lighting, and high-definition cameras capturing every angle, and it's easy for something minor to look exaggerated. Normally, that's where the story would end. But this time, it didn't. Once those concert photos hit social media, the discussion intensified instead of fading. Many people felt what they were seeing didn't resemble typical bloating. To them, it looked fuller, rounder, more consistent with a pregnancy belly than a bad angle. The internet did what it always does, zoomed in, slowed footage down, compared screenshots, stacked timelines. Confidence replaced curiosity in the comments. People weren't asking anymore, they were declaring. Then another video surfaced, and that's when things really escalated. This time, Latto appeared alongside saucy Santana. And instead of calming the speculation, the clip amplified it. Her stomach was still visible, only now, it didn't look subtle at all. She was gently rubbing it, smiling softly, relaxed in a way that felt unguarded. To many viewers, the energy felt unmistakable. Not staged. Not playful. Just maternal. Even Santana's reaction raised eyebrows. He didn't look amused or in on a joke. He looked genuinely unsure. So unsure, in fact, that he leaned in and checked her stomach himself, like he needed confirmation in real time. That moment felt raw and unscripted, and that's what sent the internet spiraling. His reaction didn't read as performance. It read as instinct. And once that clip circulated, a lot of people said the same thing, this feels different. Judging by his facial reaction and the way she laughed it off, a lot of viewers felt that moment was completely unfiltered. It didn't come across as a rehearsed joke or a staged interaction. Her laugh didn't feel like a firm denial either, it read more like nervous deflection. And in the court of public opinion, that subtle distinction mattered. For many watching, it was enough to believe that what they were seeing was real, or at least real enough to raise serious questions. That's when things started clicking for people. If she truly was pregnant, and if the long-rumored relationship with 21 Savage was real, then suddenly years of behavior made sense. The secrecy. The carefully worded interviews. The refusal to clearly confirm or deny anything for so long. A pregnancy would change everything. At that point, hiding a relationship wouldn't just be difficult, it would be unrealistic. A child isn't something you can keep vague forever. For fans who had been connecting dots for months, this felt like the missing piece. It explained why she might finally step forward and claim the relationship publicly. It explained the softer energy people noticed, the shift in her demeanor, the sense that she seemed more settled and less chaotic than before. To them, the timeline fit together too cleanly to ignore. And then came the shutdown. After days of non-stop speculation, reaction videos, trending discussions, and endless think pieces, she finally addressed it. She denied being pregnant outright. Not only that, she posted a photo showing her stomach completely flat. No ambiguity. No, depending on the angle. Just flat. The caption? A casual explanation, too much wagyu and ramen. Light-hearted. Almost dismissive. That post did exactly what it was meant to do. The noise died down. Blogs pulled back. Comment sections shifted from certainty to confusion. Some people accepted it immediately and moved on. Others remained skeptical, but without new material to work with, the speculation lost momentum. From that point forward, her stomach appeared flat in every public sighting, and the pregnancy talk essentially faded into the background. On the surface, that should have been the end of the story. Another rumor debunked. Another example of how quickly people project narratives onto women's bodies. And there is a serious conversation to be had about how invasive and unfair that scrutiny can be. But as with most celebrity situations, it didn't truly disappear, it just went quiet. Now, everything feels stirred back up because of Fivio's claims. According to him, the pregnancy wasn't imagined. He's alleging that she really was expecting at the time, but that once again, she wasn't allowed to continue it. So, allegedly, she brushed it off publicly and rewrote the narrative. And it's crucial to be clear here, these are allegations, not confirmed facts. But once claims like that are put into the world, especially by someone inside the industry, they carry weight whether they're proven or not. What makes this especially uncomfortable is how personal the topic is. Pregnancy, loss, and reproductive choices aren't casual talking points, even when celebrities are involved. Yet here it is, dissected online like entertainment. That's where a lot of people started feeling uneasy. Because anyone who's followed her for a while knows she's been vocal about wanting to be a mother. Not playfully. Not hypothetically. She's spoken about it with sincerity and emotion. She said she looks forward to building a family, experiencing that kind of love, stepping into that chapter of life. In an interview with Cosmopolitan, she said plainly, "I want to be a mom so bad." No hesitation. Just honesty. So when someone casually alleges that she's been pregnant and forced to give that up, it hits hard. Not because people know it's true, but because they understand how devastating that would be if it were. Suddenly, earlier moments, the belly rubbing, the soft smiles, the laughter, feel heavier. Less joyful. More painful. At the same time, there's strong pushback from people saying this is exactly why speculation about women's bodies needs to stop.